So the second step in design thinking is define. Remember, we talked about empathy as the first step we need, and that is perhaps the most important step, to have empathy. But you really need to spend a lot of time in the definition stage because you need to understand and define your problem statement and be really clear about the problem space. You need to know the facts, the stories, and what you're going to focus on. Okay, it's really important that we spend a lot of time on the problem so we fully understand it. So in this second step of define, our focus is on framing and reframing the challenge. We've got to sharpen the key questions. We've got to really understand the objectives, but really try and reveal insights. So how can we translate what we've learned from the empathy stage into this definition stage? And we need to make some really strong decisions. What's in and outside of scope? What are we really going to focus on? What is the problem that's most important, most pressing? It's going to have the biggest impact if we can solve it. Is it feasible? It's about getting. It's almost like that story where you've got to figure out what's just right. And that's what we're doing in the definition stage. You need to scope the design challenge. In define, the aim is to develop a unique, a clear, and actionable problem statement. And often this is framed by a specific user's point of view. And I'll show you some examples about how to do this. But you really focus on unpacking your empathy findings into needs and insights. You're going to have to dwell in the jungle of the problem space. If you look in your workbook, you'll see that design thinking always starts with a problem, never with a solution. And we're really going to explore this now. The problem statement needs to be straightforward and easy to understand. It can be understood by everyone on the team is in the right direction, and it's something that you're interested in. Often, should be able to be followed by the word because. You need to immerse yourself in research and current future trends, evaluate current solutions critically, and engage in meaningful conversations with the potential users. Your goal in the definitions phase is to gather a wealth of information and insights that will form a solid foundation. Define the problem. What problem or need are we trying to solve? Why is it a problem? Who's got the problem? Who's got a need? What group are we going to focus on? When and where does the problem occur? Be really clear about the impact of this problem and how it affects users, consumers, and the organization, and how is it being solved today? Have a bit of a scan about the existing methods or solutions being used to address the problem. So you're really clear on your approach and your narrative. You might want to do a bit of a mind map to look for affinities, connections between topics, look for interesting issues for discovery. Now, remember, a mind map is about visually organizing information into a hierarchy. Features one main idea as a central point, and then there's lots of subtopics coming out from there. And this visual representation allows you to see patterns and connections that might be less apparent if you're just going to do a list. And then really examine your ideas to identify the categories or themes that emerge. You might want to use the 5 whys and or the W+H exercise to figure out who's affected by the problem. What exactly is the problem? When does the problem occur? Where does the problem take place? Why is it a problem? And how does the problem manifest? And what are its effects? These questions are designed to help you dig deeper and really fully grasp the nuances of the problem, and will lead to more effective solutions. So you could complete this matrix and really dwell on answering and being clear about these responses. You might also want to draw a fishbone diagram, also known as a Shoyaki diagram, which will help you visualize the causes of a problem. It helps you understand the system before you try to change it. And while you can do any number of categories and any different kind of categories, traditionally it has 6 M's: manpower or people, materials, methods, machines, measurement, and Mother Nature, environment. So you can categorize all your issues surrounding that and really think about where you might want to focus your attention. Where we want to land is we want to craft a really strong how might we question. That really gets us in the right space to unpack some innovative solutions. So what is a how might we question? It's a tool used in design thinking to reframe challenges and to unlock innovative thinking. For example, you might actually have a question if you're thinking in healthcare: how do we reduce patient wait times? You're like, oh, that's all right. But actually, we want to reframe it as how might we? How might we make the waiting experience more enjoyable for patients? And you can see all of a sudden that's actually a more inspiring problem, a more inspiring question. And so you need to think about how you're going to frame your question. If it's digital transformation, how might we encourage people to use our app? How might we transform a system to do X, Y, Z? Think of your criteria and your priorities. And the reason we're using a how might I question is because it reframes problems into opportunity. The language is important, and it actually shifts the focus from finding immediate solutions to exploring possibilities. And the word might implies multiple potentials, and it really encourages like a freedom and brainstorming. It creates a shared language for ideation, and it signals that we're proactive, we're focused on experimentation, and we know that there's lots of different possibilities. How might we do X? How might we X, Y, Z, whatever it is? There's something in the phrasing and the framing that's exciting, and it hints at the possibilities. So the key principles, you need to be focused yet open-ended. So not too broad, but not too narrow. Really need to be user-centric. So focus on your user, and needs to be action-orientated. So you're inspiring, the next stage, you're inspiring lots of different ideation possibilities. The how creates confidence and optimism. The might removes expectation of perfection and self-editing, really promotes open-minded thinking. Might kind of has that openness, okay? And the we promotes collaboration and building on each other's idea. It's a we, we're in this together, okay? So too broad, but you use a fun one, might be focused on, too broad might be how might we redesign dessert? It's too broad, okay? Too narrow is how might we create a cone to eat ice cream without dripping? That's too narrow. How might we redesign ice cream to be more portable? Is just right. And so you really want to spend time to make sure that your question is not too broad, not too specific. It's ambitious and achievable. You can do this in a variety of different ways. So you work in your workbook on the exercises that we've got, but really focus on the challenge space to be explored, and think about your team. What are you trying to get done, and what assumptions do we have that might need to be checked? So you might say, okay, what are we trying to do? We're trying to redesign X experience, or create ways to do something. For who? Who's your focus group? Thinking about the context in a world where, or keeping in mind, digital connectivity issues or whatever it might be, keeping in mind a limited budget, keeping in mind a time frame. What are the constraints that need to be, that might need to be present in your how might we question? Think about your aims. We aim to do X, and we need to test the assumption of X, Y, Z. So just spend some time really dwelling in this problem space and thinking about it. Here's an example. Identify the problem statement. Patients often experience anxiety when waiting for appointments. Break it down into components: lack of distractions, uncertainty about wait times, and then reframe each component using how might we. How might we reduce uncertainty about appointment timings? Or how might we create calming experiences in the waiting area? And you can see that your crafting of a how might we question is actually then it's kind of pointing you down a specific path. Okay, if we're going to focus on calming experiences, then that's sending us down a different path than reducing uncertainty. Okay, so you've got to be really careful and clear about the path you want to go and the how might we question framing. Okay, and this is something definitely you should do in groups and spend some time at. Now, if we said, how might we reduce uncertainty about appointment timings, then the kind of solutions that we might come up with in the ideation might be about text messages and queuing and information. But if we did a question about how might we create calm and experience in the waiting area, it might be about, having goldfish that people can watch or something like that, or playing calming music. So, but it is focusing on the problem statement of anxiety, but then the solution, where you're going with the ideation and the creation of that, is varying depending on where your how might we question focuses. So it's really important that your how might we question is aligned to what you think are the priorities for your project. Now it's your turn in your workbook. Complete some of these problem exploration tasks to really be clear on your problem, its definition, and some how might we statements. Good luck.